Good morning. This is such a great day. My name is Laura Snow, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of this congregation. Welcome to you all. It's quite a full house. The Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart is a welcoming community, encouraging religious freedom, nurturing individual spiritual and ethical growth, celebrating diversity, and promoting a just and sustainable world. That's our mission statement. If you would like to learn more about this fellowship, please look at our website at uufe.org and join us after this service for a special coffee hour. I'm not going to say what we have, but we got specials. For the listening enjoyment of all, we ask at this time to please turn off your cell phones to off or to vibrate. And if you need hearing support, please see the gentleman at our sound desk, and they will be more than happy to help you with that. And as has become a tradition, I guess, we've been doing it for about a year and a half now. It's customary for the board president after the board meeting for the month to get up and talk a little bit about what we discussed at the board meeting. And our board meeting this past for this month, was kind of mundane actually. Wasn't a lot of exciting stuff, but I'll hit some of the highlights. I want to thank Gio for starting work on our big project of getting our digital stuff in order, our digital house in order. That can't be an easy task, and I appreciate your help on that. So we're in the process of condensing, making our digital footprint more efficient. Big shout out to Bill Schmidt, who donated an AED unit to the congregation. And then this past week, some folks got together and learned how to use it. I'm not sure that it's installed yet, but we have a place for it picked out, and that will be put up soon. And we discussed a way that we can, as a congregation, send some love to Bill and acknowledge his wonderful gift. So we will be discussing maybe a special ceremony, a special way of acknowledging this wonderful gift he gave us. We are in the process too of working on some new advertisement for the symphony, and having a nice ad in different ways that we have access to, so that when we choose to put our name out in the public through sponsorships and stuff, we will have a nice selection of ads that we can pick from and just send off digitally. So that's a process that we are starting. We got cleaning quotes for the for cleaners to come in. We are in need of a person to head up and become the contact point for rental of our facility. So we're open to suggestions and volunteers for that. We have the documentation online. We just need a volunteer, somebody who can dedicate some time for dealing with the applications, showing the place, showing the facility, that kind of thing. So we talked about that. We continue to discuss changing Robert's rules to something a little more less process-oriented and more problem-solving oriented. And let's see. We will be creating a committee on shared ministry. This will be usually a 3 to 4 person committee. It's another committee. It's more like a team than a committee. This would be a team of people that would help with communication, problem solving between minister, congregants, between congregants, a mediator, if you will. We're looking to assemble this in the near future. We will be doing a special collection for the disaster relief, UUA's disaster relief fund in the September 29th is the date we picked. And I just want to remind folks that UUFE has been a recipient of some of those funds. When we had the awful flooding in 2018, we were the recipient of a grant that helped us make the necessary repairs. So this, we feel, is important that we take up an offering, a special fund, as a way of paying it forward. And then we discussed the Soul Matters program. We, as the board, agreed that this would be beneficial to our congregation and especially to our burgeoning RE program. So we will be investing in that as well. And we will be sharing this material with Clark Lake. So nice way to sharing's going to be a big theme this coming year, let me tell you. And I like that. And then finally, on a little more serious note, we did have a discussion about, this goes back to some of the security issues we've been talking about on disruptive behaviors, and reminding folks that we are in covenant with one another. It is, and it is important that we behave as such, and disruptive behavior does not align with our covenant, and so it will be dealt with as needed and documented as needed. And we do have a disruptive person process that will be followed if needed. So that was the more serious thing, but we're heading in the right direction, and I really look forward to some of the things that we hope to accomplish this year. Thank you.
We're going to be giving our thank yous to the people that have contributed to today's service live instead of in print from now on. So I would like to thank Joan Claiborne for the flowers, Phyllis Hostetler, and the Board and Worship Committee for refreshments, Chuck Bauer for the coffee and tea setup and decorations, and for the sound tech services on site today. It's doing it solo today. Zanzer Anderson for cleanup today, and Carl Rust, as always, for tech prep for service prior to this morning. And Dwight has a couple of announcements.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm just not sure where you're coming from. That's why I wanted to go high and low. I'm full of joy and happiness for a lot of reasons. Just celebrated 31 years with my wife, Oksana, on Thursday. And I'd like to personally thank the search committee, William Becker, Laura Snow, TJ Sham, and myself for finding us a minister. Yay! Yeah, it's okay. You can talk. And I'd also like to just welcome you in a special way. In my hand is a blessing heart. I'd like to pass it around, and as a welcome, we could all say a little blessing and just pass it down the line at the end of the service. Maybe in the coffee hour, we'll present it to Reverend Dan. And we'd like to welcome Erica. I know she's not with us today, but his wife, Erica, and let's move forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight. So yes, we, after 2 years of hard work, dedicated work from the search committee, from this congregation, the support that we got from this congregation to move forward with this, from the board who negotiated, and it's been quite the journey, quite the adventure, but we got a minister. So I think that's why I'm excited about today. I'm not going to go into a lot of biographical detail with Reverend Dan. He's put out some information I think speaks far better than me on who he is as a person. I will say this though, the one thing that really caught my attention in the search process was his musical background, because I know how much music has been a part of this congregation, how much music means to this congregation. I like music, but I don't play anything, I don't sing. Music it's a great art form, but I know what it meant to and means to a lot of people in this congregation. And so that is what stuck with me on behalf of all of you. And so I'm really happy that Reverend Dan Miyake is with us today, and feel free to ask questions at coffee hour later today. So welcome, Reverend Dan.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Reverend Dan Miyake, and I'm thrilled to be able to say for the very first time that I am the new minister of this fellowship. I'm so happy to be here. And as we learn and grow together, I can only see good things happening for us. We have a lot of learning to do together. Learning how to be together in covenant is perhaps the most important thing we can do right now. Building relationships, building trust, learning how to work together will establish a firm foundation for our future of successes. I'm excited to be on this new journey with you, and I'm grateful that I was invited to serve. Now, as we begin our service, I invite you to breathe in this day, this space, this community. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your life's journey, you're welcome here. Whomever you love, wherever you were born, whatever language you speak, you're welcome here. Whatever your skin color, whatever your class background, whatever your range of abilities are, you are welcome here. And I'm so glad that you've chosen our fellowship as your place of worship this morning. Because we come together for worship in order to slow down and listen for the callings of our hearts and our spirits. We come together for worship so that we can be reminded of our highest aspirations and continue to transform ourselves into our best selves. Now let us enter into worship together.
Our chalice lighting words today are by Reverend Erica Hewitt. With full hearts, we affirm our relationships with one another. We recognize our agency and our connective power, and we accept our responsibility to be bold and courageous. We light this chalice, symbol of all that we are, all that we have done together, and all that we will be, as our shared ministry encourages those within and beyond our walls. Let us now speak our covenant in unison. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit as we sing our first hymn, 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, in the teal hymnal.
Stand if you're willing and able. Thank you. Blessed with love and
Our cash offering this morning will be shared with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Elkhart County. And please remember, as we receive our offering this morning, we are giving to each other. Let us give generously and receive graciously.
Let our hearts not be hardened to those living on the margins. There is room at the table for everyone. This is where it all begins. This is how we gather in. There is room at the table for everyone. Too long we have wandered, burdened and undone, but there is room at the table for everyone. Let us sing the new word. This is how it all begins. There is room at the table for everyone. There is room for us all, and no gift is too small. There is room at the table for everyone. There's enough if we share. Come on, call up and share. There is room at the table for everyone. No matter who you are, no matter where you're from, there is room at the table for everyone. Here and now we can be the beloved community. There is room at the table for everyone. There is room for us all. No gift is too small. There is room at the table for everyone. There's enough if we share. Come on, call up and share. There is room at the table for everyone. Room for us all. No gift is too small. There is room at the table for everyone. There's enough if we share. Come on, call up and share. There is room at the table for everyone. Let our hearts not be hard to the living on the margins. There is room at the table for everyone. This is how we gather in for everyone. Everyone.
This week, the fourth Sunday of the month, we recognize the joys and sorrows of our global community. All that we share this morning comes from beyond ourselves, whether from the other side of the county or the other side of the hemisphere. These events affect us, even if directly, by impacting the world we live in. This practice helps to keep us conscious of events outside of UUFE, to bring and keep our awareness of losses and gifts, pain and beauty from beyond our beloved community, and allows us to bear witness. From your seat, please raise your hand and briefly speak the event or situation you are calling to our attention, and I will repeat it into the mic. If you have any questions about what is shared, please direct them to the speaker after the service. Please do be brief, hold personal sharings for third Sundays, and avoid politically charged events that we may each value differently. I will start with the good news from science. There is a type of honey, Manuka honey, that has been found to decrease cancer cell growth by 84% in both mice and human cells. I'd like to see what they do with that. Ray.
62 years ago from today, actually yesterday, because it was on a Saturday, my wife and I were married, and 6 years ago, this past Thursday, she passed away.
Okay. The marriage of Ray and his wife and her death 6 years ago, certainly a global event. Joan.
I just wanted to mention along with your Manuka honey, they make Manuka honey band-aids, and if you have a laceration or a cut or a cat, they're wonderful for healing just regular cuts.
Manuka Band-Aids. Wow. Great in helping to heal cuts of all kinds. Phil? Oh, he was just greeting Kathy. Phyllis.
I have some joy about some good things that are happening on the south side of town. Tolson Center is there, and they had a celebration last weekend, and they're developing a walking bicycle path along Mishawaka Road, which is really great for the people living in the old farm apartments and getting down to the grocery store and so on.
Great. Yes, Tolson Center is continuing to grow and celebrate and is developing a bike walking path.
That's
From-
not connected to the Tolson.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
Okay, all right. I'm sure they agree with each other. All right.
along Benham Avenue and Mishawaka.
Along Benham and Mishawaka, which is not far from Tolson Center. Wow, I think we're all focused on good stuff this morning. So I'll let that be. May light and warmth come to all those who need and bring it. May we grow in our awareness of our global community and our care of it. And may we ever be grateful for all that we have been given. Amen. Blessed be. The children may go to RE now.
As we enter into a more reflective time of the service, I invite you to think about these words by Reverend Teresa Soto called "We Hold Hope Close." In this community, we hold hope close. We don't always know what comes next, but that cannot dissuade us. We don't always know just what to do, but that will not mean that we are lost in the wilderness. We rely on the certainty beneath the foundation of our values and ethics. We are the people who return to love like a North Star and to truth that we are greater together than we are alone. Our hope does not live in some glimmer of an indistinct future. Rather, we know the way to the world of which we dream. And by covenant and the movement forward of one right action and the next, we know that one day we will arrive at home. Now please remain seated for our next hymn. 346, Come Sing a Song with Me.
The Five Major Ingredients of Covenant by Reverend James Luther Adams, who was a UU theologian and social ethicist. 1. Human beings, individually and collectively, become human by making commitment, by making promise. The human being as such, as Martin Buber says, is the promise-making, promise-keeping, promise-breaking, promise-renewing creature. The human being is the promise maker, the commitment maker. 2. The covenant is a covenant of being. It is a covenant with the creative, sustaining, commanding, judging, transforming powers, which may be interpreted theistically or non-theistically, humanistically. In a religious covenant, the orientation is just something we cannot control, but something upon which we depend, even for our freedom. Jonathan Edwards called it the covenant of being. 3. The covenant is for the individual as well as the collective. The individual is brought out of separateness into covenant. We are responsible for individual behavior, but also for the character of society. 4. The covenant responsibility is especially directed toward the deprived, whether these be people suffering from neglect and injustice, or those who are caught in the system that suppresses them, that suppresses their own self-determination. It is the gap between covenant and system, between ideal and behavior, that creates deprivation and makes it difficult for a top-flight executive, for example, to speak out in public regarding his or her dissident convictions. 5. The covenant includes a rule of law, but it is not fundamentally a legal covenant. It depends upon faithfulness, and faithfulness is nerved by loyalty, by love. Violation of the covenant is a violation of trust. What holds the world together, according to this dual covenant, then, is trustworthiness, eros, love, and hopefully a few nails. Ultimately, the ground of faithfulness is the divine or human love that will not let us go. Here we see the theological basis for accountability by persons and by the church. This may be the fundamental intellectual agenda for today, a doctrine of the covenant, whether it be given that name or not.
A long time ago, in a land far, far away, there was a fledgling church that had a lot of passion and energy. They wanted to grow and do good things. But it struggled to survive because, well, the people weren't very nice to each other. Some folks had pretty big egos, and they thought that they knew best how to run the church and what should be taught. They closed their ears and their minds to anyone else's ideas. And there were major power struggles for leadership. Opposing and divisive factions arose within the congregation, which almost destroyed it. And there were also class issues. This little congregation had wealthy members and poor members. The wealthy folks didn't want the poor ones in their church, not really. But one of the basic tenets of their faith was that they're supposed to include everybody, so they begrudgingly let them in. However, when the poor people were members, they had no real voice. They were essentially treated as outsiders. Needless to say, because they had not learned to be together in community. Their vision, their passion, and their energy were useless. They were unable to accomplish their goals and build their church. Eventually, the founder of the church had enough of everyone's behavior, and he wrote a letter to them basically telling them to knock it off and to learn how to love each other. I want to share with you a little of that letter. The founder said, "If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things." And he went on later to say, "And now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, and the greatest of these is love." Now, you've probably heard these words somewhere before, right? They were written by the Apostle Paul to the church in Corinth. Many of you probably associate these words with wedding ceremonies, right? Yeah. It's a beautiful sentiment. Love gives meaning to everything, and without it, there's nothing. But Paul wrote them not for weddings, but to correct some serious problems in the church. Paul attempted to impress upon the members of this church that their behavior was not Christ-like and that they needed to straighten up. They needed to understand and commit to covenanting together. And if they were going to be Christians, then by golly, they needed to act like it and love each other. According to Paul, it didn't matter that they had energy and passion. It didn't matter that there were some good things being done. What mattered to him was that they were in right relationship with each other, because that was what Christ was all about. So let's jump ahead now to the year 1637 in the town of Dedham, Massachusetts. This new town of about 30 families had just established the essential infrastructures that they needed to function. Their next task was to start a church. The problem was that they were all relative strangers, and they didn't have a clear idea of how they wanted their church to be, nor how they wanted to be in community with each other. Now, these Dedham folks were pretty wise. They wanted to do church right, so they decided to spend some time getting to know each other, to learn how to work together, and how to support one another. They held weekly meetings, going from home to home to home to, quote, lovingly discourse and consult together and prepare for spiritual communion in a church society, that we might be further acquainted with the spiritual tempers and gifts of one another. Now, their loving discourses were made possible by simple yet effective rules of engagement that allow them to speak directly yet thoughtfully and peacefully, to question without arguing or attacking, and to listen respectfully. And these meetings didn't last just a few weeks. They spent an entire year doing this. no Bible study, no church service, no communal worship. They were very intentional about the community they wanted to have. So what did they talk about in these meetings? Well, they talked mostly about love. And according to the historical records, the time was spent about questions as pertain to the just, peaceable, and comfortable proceedings in civil society. That is, early conversations revolved around what society needed to be healthy and strong. Now remember, this was a time when European society was less than desirable. These folks were literally starting society over. They wanted to grow a just and loving society founded on love. UU Minister Alice Blair Wesley, who spoke about the Dedham congregation at great length in her 2000 and 2001 men's lecture series, wrote that the Free Church is an organization we establish and join so that we may help each other to find over and over again in 1,000 varying time frames and settings what our own worthiest loves are. Our worthiest loves. And therefore, what these loves now require of us. If we would be loyal in the most meaningful sense in what we do, in our actions, in the way we live. The Dedham congregation desired to model their church on the transformative power of God's love in the fulfillment of the needs of society. These were their most worthiest loves. And they wanted to commit to them rather than submit to some ecclesiastic or governmental authority. They wanted their members to have the freedom and the authority to think, decide, and act in such a way as they saw fit, based on their understanding of God and God's will. No outside authority, no governor, no king, no pope, no bishop, or any other body could dictate policy or process to them. This was huge. This was pretty radical thinking back then. And it was in a time when it was physically dangerous to buck the system and believe and act with religious autonomy. But the bottom line is that our friends in Dedham understood that it was mandatory that they have the freedom as a congregation to search for truth and meaning, and in having that ability, they could live and act authentically according to their beliefs and values. Unlike the church of Corinth, these folks knew who they wanted to be. The members of the Dedham church also seemed to understand that covenant is about more than making a promise to be nice to one another, even though that's part of it. It seemed to understand that there is a deeper and more fundamental thread, a tie that binds, and it's called love. It's about what we believe is essential in relationships with ourselves, our families, our friends, our congregations, and within society. And if we are to honor these relationships, we are compelled to live our lives intentionally, to make manifest in the world our most worthiest loves. covenant then is more of a statement of identity and intention, of not only what we believe, but also who we are and how we intend to live in the world. Think about your own worthiest loves. Think about it. Personally and congregationally. What are they? What are your worthiest loves? To whom or to what do you commit? And by committing to these things, what are you promising? What does this commitment compel you to do? As Quaker teacher Douglas Steer puts it, we should ask ourselves not who am I, but whose am I? Because there is not identity outside of relationship. You cannot be a person by yourself. Given that we are connected, given that we are brothers and sisters, given that we share a future, a planet, a world, how then shall we live? These, I believe, are the questions that covenantal relationships demand to be answered. As we move forward to make our mission and vision manifest in the world, I challenge us all to go deeper and explore whose we are. To whom are we accountable? And how do we tend to live in light of these relationships? Writing this sermon and asking these questions has caused me to think about what my worthiest loves are, what I want to commit to. I've been asking myself about what I want to promise to this congregation and how I want to covenant with you. I don't think I can ask you to examine your promises, your accountabilities, without doing it myself. So here it is, at least what I have so far. Whose am I? At this time and place, I'm Erica's husband, cat dad to Frank and Nova, your new minister, a close friend to a few, Dan Pa to one, and a flawed citizen trying to do my best in a messed up world. I am accountable to all of these relationships, and each has its foundation in its own way in love. To you specifically, I promise, I covenant with you to give you the best of what I have to give. I promise to treat you and speak to you with care, respect, compassion. And I promise to learn and grow and be taught by you. And in return, I will serve you with joy and gratitude. I promise to listen to you, to your joys and concerns with an open mind. And I promise to take this first year to truly get to know the people and the culture of this congregation, much like Dedham, to get to know each other before I start making any big changes, if any big changes are necessary. There may not be. I want to learn about what this congregation needs in order to flourish and to support that flourishing the best I can. I promise these things to you in the knowledge that I'm human, y'all. I am very human. And I will sometimes fail. I will make mistakes, as we all do. I am not infallible. But I love deeply. And in that, I will not fail. I was once told by a mentor that you should begin a new endeavor as you wish to end it. So I would like to begin my relationship with you as I wish it to end, in a covenant of love. Reverend Erica Hewitt writes, "What our religious ancestors proclaimed in 1648 is still true today. The communion of churches is exercised by way of mutual care in taking thought for one another's welfare in case of need, to minister relief on to one another." Therefore, I think it would be appropriate and fitting if we end today's service with a promise, a covenant. We have no way of knowing what the future will bring. But if we remain in right relationship with one another, there is nothing that we can't handle. So if you're comfortable in doing so, I would invite you to recite the following words with me as we covenant with one another. We, this family in faith, affirm the shared ministry begun here today. We offer to one another our care, love, understanding, and compassion. We commit to supporting one another's welfare as a congregation. And we promise one another that we will continue to build the beloved community we seek. Within these walls and without. This then is how we shall live. May it be so. And now we will extinguish our chalice. You may or may not know these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. We all emerge from, dwell within, and are transformed by, and called back to love. May your mind be humbled before this mystery. May your heart grow hopeful by it. May you be sustained by this love always. Go in peace. And now we have a final video hymn, 318. We would be one. Please sing along.